to the office. Moving on, amidst an outpouring of international outrage, Russian President Vladimir Putin has pushed Ukraine and Europe right to the brink. But who is the man staring down the world?
Since Vladimir Putin ordered thousands of Russian troops to capture Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, global stock markets have plunged, oil prices have gone through the roof, and more than 2 decades of peace and stability in Europe is now under serious threat. In the resulting storm of international condemnation, 61-year-old Vladimir Putin, the most powerful man in Russia, some say the world, hasn't flinched.
Well, he wants to see Russia returned as a great power. He wants to see Russia once again being able to stride the global stage with the United States.
Before his political career, Putin spent 16 years in the Soviet-era KGB, including 5 years in the infamous illegal intelligence gathering unit, Directorate S.
Clearly his outlook is one in which he does not trust the West for a whole variety of reasons, and that will be consistent with a KGB background.
Putin's eventual rise to the Russian presidency can only be described as meteoric. After arriving in Moscow in 1996, it would be only 4 years until he was in control of the country. His first presidency lasted 8 years. He then spent 4 years as Prime Minister and then jumped straight back into the presidency and is expected to hold the top job until 2024.
He's done that through a couple of different mechanisms. One is that he's moved people into positions of authority who support him, and he's removed some who originally opposed him.
Modern Russia is Putin's Russia. The ex-KGB strongman commands the 4th largest army in the world and its nuclear arsenal. He has a permanent seat on the UN Security Council and control over some of the world's largest oil and gas reserves. And while he claims to have only $180,000 in the bank, it's speculated he has a secret personal fortune worth more than $70 billion. Now, with Ukraine and peace in Europe hanging in the balance, the whole world is waiting to see what Vladimir Putin will do next.
To give us some more insight into the enigmatic Russian president, we're talking to author of I, Putin, Jennifer Ciotta. Jennifer, we've seen a lot of Vladimir Putin on the world stage, particularly recently, but what's the man himself like? Is he just a big, misunderstood, lovable teddy bear?
I don't think he's a teddy bear. I wouldn't call him that. I don't know if he's very lovable. But he is misunderstood by the Western media. The Western media loves to demonize him. And in fact, what he is he's a president that absolutely loves Russia, and he's going to seize any opportunity to bring back the great Russia that it once was.
Well, he loves Russia, but do the Russians love him?
The Russians do love him. Again, the Western media reports are a lot of the times inaccurate. As of February, he had a 65% support polling, and a lot of the Western media reports differently.
Today, some of the protesters in Ukraine and also the Czech foreign minister compared Vladimir Putin to Adolf Hitler. Is there any truth to that comparison?
I would say no. I think a lot of people like to refer him to Hitler or to Stalin, but we have to realize Putin hasn't massacred millions of people. He will use someone as an example, but he's not on that scale. And again, I believe that Putin does things in his heart for the best of Russia.
Jennifer, I'm just curious. I get a feeling you kind of dig this guy.
Well, in my book, I do have a sympathetic view of Vladimir Putin. And again, I think the Western media immediately jumps to demonize him. And I think that's a wrong thing to do. It's making assumptions. And Vladimir Putin is like any human being. He has a good side and he has a bad side. But what makes him different is that what we would see as a bad side or a dangerous side is very apparent, wherein most of us it's not.
And $70 billion is pretty good as well, I suppose.
I would like that.
Jennifer, thanks very much for your insights tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's funny, you know, if you're asking yourself when has a leader kind of crossed over into kind of loopy territory, I think when you walk through golden doors 3 times as tall as you are, yeah, you've crossed over. That's what I reckon.
It's time for a break now. See you in a tick.